Hey guys, in this video, we're just going to do a quick overview of the Spinlight Shaker and Tambo Loops pack. So the idea behind this pack was a really simple one. It was mostly about saving time when you're in a session and you just want to throw something like a quick shaker loop into your session. And sometimes it's really hard to find good shaker loops, and even using MIDI is a bit tedious. So what I decided to do was lay down a really wide range of tempos using two different shakers, a soft shaker and a medium shaker. And on one version, there's no accents, and on the other version, there's an accent on the backbeat. So this is what you'll find inside the Shaker and Tambo's loop packs. You'll find the extras folder, which is full of miscellaneous loops that I've taken from various sessions where I recorded these patterns. So you might find some of these very useful. But then our main thing is the Shaker medium loops and the Shaker soft loops. And then we also have our Tambo loops. And so in the Tambo loops, we have two different tambourines. We've got a brass tambourine and a steel tambourine. So within our medium and our soft loops folder, you're going to find three options. There is a 8th note accent, and then we have a 16th note accent, and then we also have the 16th note no accent, which is great if you just want the sound of a shaker without any kind of backbeat or accent to it. Now within these folders, you also get mono versions and stereo versions. So the mono versions are captured with an AKG C414, and then the stereo versions are with a pair of Neumann KM184s. And within our Tambos folder, we've got a couple options here. So with the brass tambourine, we've got an 8th note accent and a 16th note accent. And then the Tambo steel, we have a 16th note accent. So here's a little session that I was sort of playing around with, and I've dragged in a soft shaker to the BPM of 80. So basically I just went to the shaker soft loops, and then I went over to shaker soft 16th accent, stereo, and then I came down till I found 80 BPM. And then I dragged it into the session. So let's do it again. Drag it in. And we can see it's nice and lined up with the grid. And as you can see, it's kind of an odd amount of bars here. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4 and a half. Now I've kind of included this extra half bar so that we can do a nice crossfade. So we can just cut this off or drag it back. So we've got our nice 4 bars here. And then we can create our loop, drag it over to the end of the track. And then we can convert loops to regions. So then that flattens them all down into audio files. And then we can just grab the end of this and drag it over. And now we've got a nice crossfade here. And we won't have any weird crossover point where the loop starts again. And that sounds like this. And then we've got a little beat that this is going behind. So cool what a shaker can add to a track. It just really fills out the space. As you can hear there, when we take it in and out, you can really feel the emptiness. So a shaker is a real great way of creating movement, especially if you're doing kind of like pop productions or even like folky stuff, country music, anywhere where you want to fill out the space, add a little bit of movement, a little bit of excitement in the top end. A shaker is a great way of doing that. And it does get kind of tedious when you need to set up mics, lay it down, get it tight, maybe edit it so it's all fitting in the track nicely. Whereas the whole point of making this pack is you can just look at your tempo, go find the loop that you want, drag it in, and away you go. And say if this was like a 6/8 track, you could easily just slice this up, take the accent out, move things over, and then you could change the beat around, as this stuff is all really tight to the grid. So you can easily cut these up and make them fit a different time signature. Okay, so now let's chuck in a tambourine and check out what these sound like. So let's grab our Tambo brass 16th accent, stereo files, and let's go down to 80 BPM again and drag this one in. It's the same deal, we've got 4 bars and then a little bit extra on the end. So we can just drag this back to the start of the bar, make our loop over to the end, and then convert loops to regions again, and then drag it over and crossfade the start of it and trim the end off. And that always sounds cool when you have the tambourine and the shaker at the same time. Pin them a little bit left and right can sound really nice and fill out that top end, get a nice little bit of excitement and movement going. So that's basically the idea behind the shaker and tambo pack, is just to be able to click, drag and drop it in and save you a whole bunch of time. You can move on to the next sound, especially if you're just going for a simple loop like that where you just want to add some movement, you're not needing any kind of crazy rhythmic stuff happening with the shaker, then this is a great way of just doing that really quickly. I pretty much haven't recorded a tambourine or a shaker since I made this pack. And a fun little trick with these as well, you can play with using different loops in different tempos. So for example, we have 80 BPM here, so we could go and find a 160 BPM loop and chuck it in here because that's going to work as well. Okay, so we've got a 160 loop here. Let's chuck this in. This is going to be a little bit crazy. So you could create a rhythmic thing with it. You could just take part of it and layer it in. So there's a couple options there. And even if you're doing a faster tempo song, you could take a half tempo loop and drag it in for a different feel. So there's plenty of ways to use these and extend the use of them. So if you like the idea of saving a bit of time, having some loops that you can just drag and drop in, then check out the description link below. There'll be a link to my website where you can go and grab the shaker and tambo loop pack. If you're interested in checking out some of the other Spinlight Studio sample packs, then make sure you check out this next video coming up where I run you through my Trigger 2 sample pack.